Okay, hello. So this is the Python program I made for with the help of AI. As you can see, I have made 20 versions of it because it took a decent amount of, finishing touches to make the project. But basically, this is a 2D graphical platformer for Python that I used the help of AI. So I first typed into AI. I was like, "Hey, can you make me a simple 2D graphical platformer with 3 hits till you die, a timer?" And yeah, that's basically it. It wasn't really much to it, and it gave me this product. As you can see, as you can see, the graphics are very primitive. Looks like an Atari 2600 game, but you reach the end and you're all good with that. Um, but of course, I went back into the chat and I'm like, hey, I like the game, but it's a little primitive, and maybe you could add like a high score system. So after that, it produced this. So now has a high score system, and you earn points by collecting the coins. And once you finish collecting the coins, well, you would win. But as you can see, I died right there, so it gave me a game over screen. But let me just go through this level real quick. As you can see, then you win, and it shows your score right here, and the time that's spent. I don't know why that time keeps going, but yeah. So then after that, I asked if it could add a title screen, and like have like a high score system where it, like, keeps it logged. So once that happened, I made three. So as you can see, there's a title screen right here with a guy looking around. You can go to the high scores. As you can see, this one didn't work because it wouldn't save the high scores onto the JSON file. It would, or like, there was no JSON file for the high scores to save. Like, if I beat a level, like, I'll go through the level real quick. As you can see, you just collect all the coins, and once you do that, it'll prompt you to type in a name, but then it would just quit the game out immediately. And once you joined back in, you could see that it did not save it. So of course that was an issue. So I went back into the chat and I was like, "Hey, could you not make the game quit once you put your type in your name, and could you also save the high scores after you quit the game?" So I did that, and as you can see, that code is broken. And so I told it again. I'm like, this code doesn't even load on Pygames, so what should I do? So it tried to fix it again. This time, we go back. We go back a step. For some reason, it gives me like a simpler game with no title screen. Still has the high score system. Like you still like get a high score, but it doesn't show you. It doesn't let you type in a name. It doesn't let you input a name, and it doesn't save a high score at all. It's like the first one I made, just with better graphics. So then I went back, and I said, "Hey, the title screen's missing. The high scores saving system is missing. It's just back to how it was before." So once I told it that, it tried to fix it, and okay, we go back into here. But now, as you can see, no matter how much I click, it won't let me go to the game at all. So, of course, that's horrible. So then I went back and I said, "Hey, the menus aren't working. Like, could you fix that?" So then I made this one. But as you can see, it doesn't work. And as I was processing it, I was like, why don't I add keyboard controls to the menus to see if it works? But as you can see, that doesn't work either. So I went back into the chat and I was like, "Hey, the menus still don't work even if I use keyboard controls." So then it made this version. But as you can see again, still doesn't work. If I use the mouse, nothing happens. But then I remembered that in version 3, it worked just fine. So I told it, I was like, "Hey, why does the menus work in version 3 but not in version 6, 7, or 8? Can you implement what happened in version 3 into version 9? So when I did that, uh, of course, it wouldn't load the program properly again. So I told it if it could properly load it, and for version 10, it finally loads. For some reason, it removes support for the arrows, that for the arrow keys and spacebar, but I can still click through um, I can still click through the mouse. And as you can see, I had some very simple, or like the AI added some very simple sound effects because I did ask it to do that as well. But they're very simple. Like once you get hit by an item, it's just like a little click. That's all you really hear. But let me just beat the level real quick. And okay. But again, it gave the same issue where like once you input a name, it would just quit out the game completely. So then I went back and I'm like, hey, that issue came back again. Could you fix that? So then it made version 11. And with version 11, I was able to click through the game with no issue. It's basically the same as version 10, but now it lets you type in a name and it actually saves it. And I think if you quit the game and you go back in, oh, as you can see, it still doesn't save it. So then I went back into the chat and I was like, hey, it's not saving my game. Like, what's wrong with that? What's up with that? So then with version 12, let me see. With version 12, you play the game, you type it in, and it saves it right here. But as you can see, I started realizing that I had the error. It said error saving high scores, permission denied. So with that, I went back into the chat and I was like, hey, I realized that it was giving this error while I was trying to save the high scores. So I went back and implemented a way where I was able to save it through like, I think the same directory I have up here, because I think it was trying to save to System32 for some reason. And of course, in System32, there's, permissions that have to be accessed, and of course this app can't access it. So with version 13, as you can see, now it actually shows my old high scores with no issue, because it was able to save in the same directory that the game is in. So I could play this real quick. I'm just gonna die on purpose. Oh well, I didn't, but as you can see, I could just put like that, and then it shows up right here. So, but then I realized, I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but I'm pretty sure I want to add music. So I added these files here, and I was like, hey, could you implement like music into the game? So when I made version 14, as you can see, it originally couldn't find the files because it was trying to find it. I didn't really have a specific directory to look in for the files, so it would make default sounds. Again, it's the same exact thing as the last version, so it works just as well as that. And as you can see, everything is here. But that I realized, of course, the sound wasn't playing, so I went back and I'm like, hey, it's still not playing the sound. Could you fix that? So then once it did that, it finally created a directory where this, the files could be. But again, in System32, so of course it's the same game with more advanced sounds. Like with the default sounds that it applied, it's actually a little more advanced, but still not the sounds I wanted to use off the MP3 files. So of course that's an issue. So then I went back and I'm like, hey, is there a way, could you no, what I did is in the chat I asked if it could access these files in this exact directory that I have in here. And once I did that, it was actually able to play the music. So that's good. The only downside is that it's always going to be stuck at that same exact directory. So of course you don't want that to happen. So of course I told it, hey, is there a way where you can where the program detects the directory it's in and just takes the files straight from that directory instead of putting it in a specific directory? So because of that, I tried saying that, but of course it didn't work. So then I went back into the chat and I'm like, hey, this didn't work. Like, it didn't load up correctly. So then with version 18, it works all good. And then I decided to add back the arrow key controls. So you can control like that. But if I quit and then I rejoin, it it doesn't save the high scores. So I was like, that's an issue. Like, it shouldn't be doing that. So then with this one, I told if it could actually save the high scores. And as you can see, it does save. It did save some of the high scores. So that issue was fixed. And then for the final version, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what I did exactly. I think it was just. Yeah, I don't really know what I did with the final version. I'm pretty sure these two are just alike. But as you can see, I went through a pretty extensive process to fix the game. So it went from looking like this to looking like this. So that's basically it, and I hope you like my process.